Okay, so this lesson we're going to learn, or most of this may be review, how to solve linear and quadratic equations. Now, solving equations could be one of the most important skills that you learn in high school math because we use it in different subjects and also in different areas of mathematics where what we want to do is find the value that will make this equation work. So we want to find what number would x be that would make this work. I'm looking at this one and I'm going, well, if I subtract 1, I get 2. So if this were 3, I could just look at this and might think, okay, if x is 1, this is going to work. Well, that's all well and good, but when you come down and you look, like say at this one, like I'm not going to be able to, I can't spend all day trying to search for that y value. That's going to be too hard. So we have some strategies to help us figure out which is the number that will make this equation work, meaning the left side of the equal sign is equal to the right-hand side of the equal sign, because x just represents a number. Our first strategy number 1, which I'll write here, strategy number 1, is isolate x. I'll call it x, but it could be y or z or whatever. But the variable, isolate it. Get the x's all on one side of the equal sign and the numbers on the other. So this is a very simple one you may have been doing since like grade 9 or 10. There's 3 x's here. I want the 1 over here with the numbers that don't have x's, so I'm just adding 1 to both sides, or you can think of it as moving it over and changing the sign. Whatever it happens, you end up with plus 1 over here, and you end up with 3x equals 2 plus 1, which is 3. And now to isolate the x, now I have to get rid of the 3, which is multiplied. So I'm going to divide by 3, which gets rid of the 3. I have to do that on both sides as well. You always have to do everything the same on both sides to keep it balanced. And you end up with x by itself equals 3 divided by 3, which is 1. And that's what we knew to begin with. X is equal to 1. It makes the equation work. That's a very simple example. Now, we're moving on to one that's not quite as simple, but it's still what we would consider a linear equation because there's no squares in the equation. But it does have these annoying denominators. So, there's a couple of ways to approach the ones with denominators. You could eliminate the denominators by multiplying both sides by 15. That would get rid of the 5 and the 3. But a really easy way when you have one fraction equal to another fraction is to what we do, we call it cross multiplication. Cross multiply. Now, what does it mean to cross multiply? Well, we know if we have 3/4, that is the same fraction as 9 over 12, right? We know that those fractions are equal. And anytime you know that fractions are equal, say 1/2 and 3 over 6. These are equal fractions. When fractions are equal, if you multiply diagonally, you'll get 36. Oh, and look at that, 36. And the same thing here. If you multiply here, you'll get 6. And if you multiply here, you'll get 6. So anytime you have equal fractions, you know that if you multiply diagonally, those answers will always be the same. So works nicely here, that's what we call cross multiply, is if I multiply this way and this way, those two answers will be the same. And I can make a new equation that looks more like this one, which we like better. So I'm going to take 3 times y plus 8, 3 times, I don't need to put a time sign, I know 3 times y plus 8 looks like that, 5 times 3y plus 5 are equal to each other. And now what I have is a much easier equation to solve, because all I have to do is eliminate the brackets and then back to strategy number 1, which is isolate the x. So I'm going to get rid of the brackets. 3y plus 24 equals 15y plus 25. Now I want all my y's on one side, so I'm going to move the 15y over. If you move across the equal sign, you change the value of the sign. So it was positive, now it's minus 15y over here. It's 25, and it's going to be minus 24. So I have 3y minus 15y, that's negative 12y, equals 25 minus 24, which is 1. And now I have to remove the negative 12, which is multiplied. So to do that, I have to divide by negative 12. And those cancel, and I have y is equal to negative 1 over 12. Now, that would not have been one that you would have been able to guess by looking at it. But there's our solution. So now this one, to solve this one, again, we have an equation with x's in it. I would still consider this sort of a linear equation because it has no squares or cubes or anything on the x's. So first of all, to try and isolate it, I'm going to multiply with the brackets, expand. So we're going to have 3x minus 3 plus 5x minus 15 equals 4. And 3x plus 5x is 8x minus 3 minus 5 is minus 18 equals 4. Now I want to isolate the x. I'm going to move the 18 over, so you're going to get 8x here. 4 plus 18, 8x equals 4 plus 18 is 22. Divide by 8, divide by 8. X is equal to 22 over 8. Now, 22 over 8 is a lovely answer, and it's correct, but a more lovely answer will be if we reduce this. We can divide both the top and the bottom by 2, so we must always do that when we notice it. 11 over 4, which is a beautiful answer.